I'm Diane Powers. This is Ward. Obviously, you've seen him all through the night, but we wanted to thank you all for coming out tonight and sharing with us where we've been for the past 3 or 4 years. I know a lot of friends are in the audience and seeing it for the first time, so thanks for coming out. And thank you, Regina Abraham, for hosting the night, a wonderful new friend and a great supporter. And thank you. Yeah, thanks, Regina. Rock on, sister. I think one story that I'd like to share is when Ward and Scott had come up from the basement, they just finished the movie. It was such a relief because as we had traveled and interviewed everybody, and it started out like you heard, it was just supposed to be fun, but then we'd go and Deepak Chopra, Thich Nhat Hanh, Thomas Keating, they'd sit down, they'd say, "This is very important. It's a very important time in the world. You're making a movie about oneness. Now we've done our part, or I've done my part. Now you can't let this sit on a shelf. You can't just let this be a half-baked project. This message has to come to the world." And they're very, very serious about that it wasn't just a game. And so I said to Ward, "Your backpack keeps getting heavier," because of then we started feeling very responsible. And they would say, "It's time. The world needs this message." So, we have to have all different types of people bringing this message of oneness to the earth right now. And so when we finished the disc, we made copies and we mailed it away to everybody that really followed the movie and gave a lot of effort and energy to it. And one of the first emails that came back was from Llewellyn Vaughan Lee. And his email said, "When you came to interview me, I thought it would be another quote-unquote spiritual movie." And he said, "But what you have done is captured the essence of humanity." And in there, we both just went, ah. It didn't matter if the movie went anywhere else, just that fact that he saw it as capturing the essence of humanity. And when I look at the movie today, I think what stays with me is that it is a great reminder that as we are as human beings, we are intensely beautiful. And I think it's just a reminder how beautiful we are, every one of us, in every place that we're at. It's just amazing how beautiful we are, really beautiful. And that was what I came away with from everybody, from the people in the streets to the spiritually enlightened, was just a constant reminder that we are really beautiful and that we belong here. And we belong on this earth with one another. And that's what I take today from the movie. And again, it's so thankful to share with you. And the movie shows, well, actually, I'll let Ward tell you where the movie's at now.
On all over North America, actually on 4 continents now, there have been countless of these types of nights, these types of screenings, community screenings that are put on by regular folks. And there's something about the experience in these community screenings that feels right for this movie, and that is why we have decided to allow the movie to move into the world in this setting, in this venue, in this type of a coming together of a community of people. Because when you go into a theater, it's more of a commercial, buy your popcorn and everyone silently leaves. In these community comings together, there is somebody from the community that has promoted it, somebody that has put their own love and energy into it, putting up posters and flyers and sending out emails. And then folks come together that kind of know one another. And then when it's shared, when the movie is shared in that setting, it's almost as though there is an energy in the coming together in the community that feels right. And these screenings have been remarkably successful, more on that level, in that the experience of the coming together works very well with the movie. So thank you for being a part of what I think is really the way to experience this simple film. When we started out, we thought we are all one, kumbaya, let's sing this happy song. And at the end, there was tension and there were differences and there was almost human imperfection to what came out at the end that I think comes through in the energy of the movie. And in that space, from that humanity, for us as an experience, the oneness became known. So thank you for coming and sharing and playing a part in all that. Questions? The question was, what about the young man with the dreadlocks? Chris Willis is his name, and he is a personality that is always asked about at the end of these the movies. It's amazing for all the famous people or the noteworthy people. Here's this homeless kid that has grabbed the attention of everybody that comes to see this movie. The part of the story I like to share when that question is asked is how we found him. We were heading up into the mountains of Colorado to interview Father Thomas Keating, and on the way we stopped for lunch. And on the way out of lunch there was Chris and the other young man that had the hockey mask on, and the couple of girls that are in there that were with him, and they were hanging around outside the restaurant. And Diane, who has a good eye for seeing these kinds of things, said, we need to interview these kids. This is what oneness is all about. It's not just about these famous people, it's about these kids and what they have to say. So I'm thinking, I gotta go get all the equipment down the street and the cars down there, and honey, we're late. And I came up with several excuses before coming to what I usually do in those situations. That is that my wife is usually right, always right. And so I went and got the equipment, and when we ask him that question, the one question that stays with people is what was his wish for the world. When we ask him that question, his response was something that I knew, even though I don't know how to make a movie, I knew that that was what it's all about, that the magic and the truth and the reality of his honesty is what it was all about. And this is where I like to give it over to Diane.
You know, I think there's a lot of people that really love the movie and have seen it quite a bit. There's sort of like movie groupies. It's so fun. But there's a part in the movie when we ask Chris, what is your wish for the world? And you can tell he's thinking about it. You know, he kind of puts his hand on his head and he's thinking, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? And at one moment, there's a moment in the movie where he turns his head and he looks away and he gets the courage up and he says, I'm just going to be honest. And you can really sense it. And I sensed it when we were interviewing him. And then when he, answers the question, I don't have a wish for the world. What he did was he was, to me, the most courageous person in the movie, because he just became so vulnerable and so weak, and it just literally put on film vulnerability. And so much of our life is spent protecting us from that very moment. We don't want anybody to ever see that side of ourselves. And yet this brave, young, homeless kid was the one who brought it to light. And I saw him and I said, oh my God, that's me. Because it's just the me that I don't show very many people, but it's me. And I thought, wow, what a courage to bring that to film. What a beautiful, courageous young man. And I can't say, but I will tell you that I am forever changed by our short time spent together, because it was an ability for me to start looking at myself. And that doesn't happen very often as you get to be, in your midlife. You very much, know who you are. There's nobody that can shake you up. He really asked me to look deeply at myself. But the question then became, now, oh my goodness, it was like 3 or 4 days, and I was really, really shook up. But I wondered what would ever happen to him. Then it was just staying with me and staying with me. I say, my daughters see his full interview, and Chris Willis lives in all of our hearts.
The question was to discuss the process from the beginning to as we stand here today. And, of course, while much of it is captured in the movie, I think the part of it that the movie doesn't fully get to, because a lot of it has happened almost since the movie's been done, has been the fact that this movie has called out the gifts of literally hundreds of people that have made this all a reality. While we might be the ones to stand here tonight, there was Scott and Chad that started with us, and there were musicians that came along, and there were cameramen that came in, and not one, dozens of people, and editors and sound technicians and artists and people that made the posters and right to tonight with Regina and people that put on these events. It has been a true to life.
It's just people, and again, all for oneness. It's not because we're asking for any special favors. They're giving because they believe in something beautiful. And I think sometimes we look at the world and it seems so fractured. It can be so depressing. But really, the current of people is very beautiful. They come with their friends. Everybody's united and together and working towards a single goal, really, right? To live a happy life, to love and be loved. It's the same thing. People will work hard for that, but it just doesn't come out. It's not shown. It's not celebrated the way it should be. And that's what I really look at the movie. It is hundreds of people that came together to say something positive about who we are and life itself. And weren't afraid to work for it. And ask nothing back in return. And even when we put their names in the credits, they say, why'd you put my name in the credits? It's like, I don't want nothing. I don't want anything from it. I just want it to get out there. You guys just get it out there. And that's what it was like. Warren and I are standing here and going, how did we get in this place where all of these amazing and wonderful, talented people gave their time and their energy and their efforts and their love and opened their hearts up for one thing, to bring peace and unity to who we are. So that is very uplifting and enlightening. And if you just take that and we brought that to the world, I mean, and put that on the news, what could happen? But that's really the truth. That really is our story.
We were in Seattle, and when we were opening there was a full house, and it was opening night. They had a little balcony in the back corner that nobody knew about, and so we went up and sat and watched from there. And there is, when you watch the movie on that 40-foot screen, and it was the end, and that music's going, dun, 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 and Father Keating says, you and the other are one. There was a collective energy that you could feel come up from that 350 people in the crowd, as though they all thought, I always knew that. But I thought, if we've done nothing else in this world, I took an 80-year-old priest and put him 40 foot wide on a screen and made it entertainment. You know, made it so people actually went, bought tickets to go see him. That, you know, that I thought, if I've done nothing else, we've done that. Another one that stays with people is Sadhguru Jaggi Vesida. He's a real fave, and here's my favorite story about Sadhguru. You know, everyone thinks, oh, you guys traveled the world and you met all these people, that's so awesome. What was it like in India? Well, we did Sadhguru at the Novi Sports Club. It was in the weight room, and we hung that towel up behind him so it looked a little bit foreign. But if you listen carefully as he's answering questions, you can hear the barbells going, cling, cling. Yeah, then I said, wisdom is everywhere. The question is, what about Robert Thurman's stare, and how long did he hold it? If you notice, it was shot from two angles. There's the shot from up here where you're looking down at him staring at me, and then there's the shot into his face. Well, we only had one camera. Well, when the stare happened and when he started doing that to me, I went through that process that I described in the movie. What are you going to do? Oh my God, we're idiots. Why'd I ask such a stupid question? And then to the realization, this is my moment. I'm sitting with Robert Thurman, and we are locked in, and I'm thinking, don't blink, don't blink, don't blink, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm trying to think, don't blink, don't look scared, just sit. I'd say the stare originally went on for a minute. It felt like 5. And when he finished, he just stops and he says, and that's it. And then I don't want to go, well, Dr. Thurman, what did you mean by that? You know, so I fumble for question 18, and I go back to the sheet, and I never said, you know, I didn't ask him. And then when we got done with his interview, and we're taking pictures with him and his wife, and we're drinking water, and we're talking about life, and then he says, before you put the camera away, I'd like to do that stare again. So my friend Scott has to hold the camera up, and he's nervous as could be, trying to focus, because we're literally reading the instruction book at the time of this interview on how to run the camera. And Thurman blasted him with that stare at the end, and then got up and walked away. So when it came time to put the movie together, and when that happened, we were just starting. We didn't know how it was going to fit in or whether that would even make sense. But then it turned out to be a kind of a perfect microcosm for the journey, wonder, fear, and hopefully transcendence.